It is time to decorate for the holidays, which is the perfect excuse to do some crafting. In this video, I want to show you how to fold a pretty three-dimensional paper star that is called Fröbelstern after its inventor Friedrich Fröbel. This star can be made from whatever paper you have at home. The brown one I made from this note paper. Its surface, unfortunately, is so rough that the paper ripped very easily while working with it, so it is very important to use smooth paper like this one that I used for the beige stars. So I will use regular printing paper, something between 70 to 90 grams per square meter. This paper is also smooth enough to work with it. I imagine everything up to 120 GSM works well, so if you have any pattern paper that you want to use, feel free to do so. Of course, there is also pre-cut paper with Christmas patterns available to buy. However, I want to show you a way to make these stars without any special materials, only using what you have at home anyways. First, we need to cut out 4 strips. For demonstration purposes, this star will be quite big, so I measure strips that are 2 centimeters wide. The required length for this width is just the length of a DIN A3 paper, but as we are working with a regular DIN A4 format right now, we just cut out 8 strips instead of 4 and glue them together afterwards. The American equivalent to a regular DIN A4 paper, by the way, works just as fine for this project. It is very important to cut precisely because it will be difficult to work with strips that are not consistently 2 centimeters wide. Next, I color the strips because that will look much nicer than the plain white. As I mentioned before, you can also use scrapbook paper or whatever you have at home. I choose 4 colors right now because this will make it easier to demonstrate how to make the star, but usually I prefer just 1 or 2 colors. Coloring the edges don't matter too much, but it is important to color the strips on both sides. If you use markers like I do here, let the paper sit and dry for a while afterwards to prevent that it rips when working with it later. The next step is to glue the strips together, and I used regular transparent tape for this. Just let the ends overlap a little bit and tape them down. And make sure that there is tape on both sides of the paper strips. Now we have 4 strips that are as long as a DIN A3 paper and 2 centimeters wide, so we finally can get into folding the star. So first, all the strips need to be folded in half. This is a little harder with the tape part, but it should work well. Then take the closed ends of 2 of the folded strips and thread one, the blue one here, through the other. A third strip now goes in the same way through the blue one, and to finish up the cycle, the open side of the last red strip needs to go above and below the gray strip in order to be then threaded through the green fold. Carefully tighten this knot by pulling. Now we start by folding the blue strip upwards towards the blue fold, and then do the same thing with the green and the red colors, each one going on top of the previous one. To complete this cycle, the gray strip has to go under the blue one, and to make that a little easier, cut off the edge diagonally. In my opinion, the paper slides through even easier after cutting off the second little corner here as well. Now there is a longer and a shorter paper strip on each side, and we continue folding the spikes of the star with the shorter ones. Beginning with the gray, fold it backwards down and to the left. Then fold the lower part up so that the corners are on top of each other. The gray strip now will be threaded underneath the blue here. This is easier when bending the gray spike down. Repeat this with the blue stripe by folding it backwards to the right and then down. Make sure to leave a little gap here so that it is easier to close this fold. Now, before continuing, the blue end needs to be cut off. After that's done, bend the spike back and slide the blue end underneath the green square downwards. Pull carefully even if it doesn't go through right away because we don't want the paper to rip. Green comes next with the exact same folding sequence. Backward to the right, then down. Close the fold, cut off the end, and slide it underneath the red square. And one more time with the red. Next we will work with the long strips that we didn't touch yet, but first turn the star upside down. Using the long strips, we create the exact same flat spikes as before, following the same method. After this is done, we got 2 flat star spikes on each of the 4 sides and can now turn to making the 3D spikes. First, fold the green strip up towards the green spike and then the red one to the red spike, followed by the gray and then the blue one. Now start working with the red strip that is pointing to the right. Simply fold it down, nothing backwards this time, and then pick it up so that it sort of stands up like this. The red end then will go under this green fold here. Carefully push it in there bit by bit and pay attention not to accidentally crease the paper. As soon as the red tip comes out on the other side, start pulling slowly and carefully. It is always better to pull instead of pushing, because that will crinkle the paper the least. Now repeat on the green side. Start with folding it down, then pick it up, and bring the end of the green strip forward like a U-turn. Put the edge flat down and slide it underneath the blue. Then carefully pull from the other side until the spike is closed. I like to help it close a little bit by carefully going over it with my fingers without exerting any pressure. Next up is blue. Fold it down, pick it up, do the U-turn and thread it through the gray part. But be careful and patient and stop pulling as soon as the spike is closed, because pulling any further than this might ruin the star. And one more time on the gray side. Now comes the second time that we need to flip the star. On this side, we repeat the exact same process of folding the 3D spikes. However, it is a little trickier now because we have to hold the star in one hand and can only work with the other hand. First, fold the blue strip towards the blue spike, then the gray one to the gray spike, the red to the red, and the green to the green. Now start working on the gray side. Fold it down, pick it up, do the U-turn, slide it under the blue side, and pull carefully. This one did not go easy, but I managed with just patience and no force at all. Then repeat this procedure with the remaining 3 colors. The last step is cutting off the excess. You want to cut off as much as possible without cutting into the flat spike, because that might open the whole side of the star. My strategy to safely cut off as much as possible is to just open the scissors a little bit, then slide them down along the paper strip until the sides of the scissor blades touch the flat spike, and then cut off the excess along the spike. I also want to give you a few ideas of how to customize your star. If you leave one strip long like this, it looks like the tail of the Christmas star. And of course, there is the possibility to add some hand lettering to it in black or white, for example. In any case, I like to cut the end of the tail to the shape of a little banner. Another way to further decorate your star is to draw some polka dots or even snowflakes on it with black or a white gel pen before starting to fold the star. Pattern paper is another option, however, I prefer my stars to be monochrome. And of course, you can make the stars in different sizes as well. For this size, for example, I used paper that was 1 centimeter wide with the length of a DIN A4 paper. For the small ones, which are my favorites, the paper strips are 0.5 centimeters wide and just as long as the short side of the DIN A4 paper. And to recall, the measures of the big star that we just made are 2 centimeters wide on a length of a DIN A3 paper, or alternatively 2 DIN A4 long strips that are glued together. I hope this was a helpful tutorial. Please give this video a like to help fighting the algorithm, and tag me on Instagram if you recreated the star. I would love to see your creations.